Begin with breaking news in Philadelphia, where law enforcement sources tell Fox 29 a DNA test confirms the body found Saturday morning in East Germantown belongs to 23-year-old Kada Scott.
A young woman left for work on a regular night shift. She never came home. What started as a missing person case became something far darker, and the answers that emerged would shock the community and expose a chilling pattern of violence that had been happening right under everyone's noses. Hey everyone, if you're not already subscribed to Mystorcrimes, hit that subscribe button right now and click the bell icon so you don't miss any of our stories. Trust me, you're going to want to hear what happened in this case. So let me tell you about Kada Scott. She was 23 years old, living in Philadelphia with her mom. This girl had big dreams, and she was actually making them happen. She went to Penn State, got her degree, and right after graduation, she landed a job at an assisted living facility working in caregiving. That's the kind of job that tells you everything about someone's character, right? She was helping elderly people, making sure they were taken care of. Kada was the type of person who genuinely wanted to make a difference in people's lives. Her mom described her as a bright, responsible young woman, the kind of kid every parent hopes for. She had her own car. She was independent. She was building her career. Life was moving forward. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed safe. But on October 4th, 2024, that all changed in a way that nobody could have predicted. Kada was working an overnight shift at the assisted living facility, and around 10:30 p.m., she decided to leave her shift early. Maybe she wasn't feeling well. Maybe she just had a long day. We don't know the exact reason, but what we do know is that she clocked out and she left the building. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. The next morning came and went. Kada didn't come home. Her mom waited, thinking maybe she was staying at a friend's place or had decided to grab breakfast somewhere. But as the hours ticked by, a feeling of dread started creeping in. Something didn't feel right. Her mom knew her daughter's routines. Kada always let her know where she was. This wasn't like her. When Kada still hadn't come home by that afternoon, her mom made that call. She reached out to the assisted living facility where Kada worked and asked if her daughter had come back. That's when the real panic set in. The facility told her that Kada's car was still in the parking lot. Her car was still sitting right there where she'd left it that morning. But here's what made this even more terrifying and strange. All of Kada's personal belongings were gone. Her phone, her iPad, her keys, everything. It was like she had just vanished into thin air.
Devastating news in the case of a missing Philadelphia woman last seen 2 weeks ago while working at a nursing home. ABC's Morgan Norwood has more now on the search for Kada Scott. Morgan, you brought us the story yesterday.
Her mom knew immediately that something was seriously wrong. This wasn't a case of Kada sleeping in at a friend's house. This wasn't her being irresponsible. Every piece of evidence was screaming that something bad had happened. That same day, Kada was reported missing to the Philadelphia Police Department. October 5th, 2024 was a day that her family's worst nightmare officially began. As news of Kada's disappearance spread through her community and her family's social circles, people started asking questions. Where could she be? Who would take her? Why would someone do this? Her family was desperate, putting out everything they could on social media, asking the community for help. Police launched a search, but in those early days, there were no solid leads, no witnesses, no real direction for the investigation to go. Days passed, then a week, 2 weeks. The uncertainty was absolutely unbearable for her family. Every phone call, every knock on the door, they were hoping it would be good news, but it never was. The longer she was gone, the worse everyone feared the outcome might be. Then something changed. Police received an anonymous tip, and this tip was very specific. It pointed them to an area near Ada Lewis Middle School in East Germantown, right near the Aubrey Arboretum. The tip came in overnight.
This Saturday night, I'm Walter Perez. We're following breaking news. Investigators have found female human remains in their search for Kada Scott. Investigators say an anonymous tip led them to remains in a shallow grave in the Germantown section of the city. That site was near an abandoned elementary school near Aubrey Arboretum, where investigators had been searching. The medical examiner will soon formally identify the remains. Today marks 2 weeks since 23-year-old Kada Scott went missing.
And early Saturday morning, October 19th, police descended on that location with a sense of urgency that only comes when you know you might be about to find something tragic. What they found that morning behind that vacant school was heartbreaking. Human remains were discovered. The police immediately understood the gravity of this moment. This was no longer a missing persons case. This was now a homicide investigation. The remains were collected carefully, preserved for evidence, and sent for DNA analysis. Nobody wanted to believe what they were finding, but deep down, everyone knew. Within a short time, the results came back. A rapid DNA test showed a 99.9% match to DNA samples taken from Kada's parents. 99.9%. There was no doubt. The remains found behind that school belonged to Kada Scott, the missing 23-year-old who had simply gone to work on an ordinary Thursday night was gone. She was never coming home. But here's where this story takes another turn. Because while her family was dealing with the devastating reality of losing Kada, police were zeroing in on exactly who was responsible.
Begin with breaking news in Philadelphia, where law enforcement sources tell Fox 29 a DNA test confirms the body found Saturday morning in East Germantown belongs to 23-year-old Kada Scott.
More than a week later, officials announced charges against 21-year-old Keon King for kidnapping, false imprisonment, and stalking in connection with Kada's disappearance. Investigators believe King was the last person to see her the night she disappeared.
The man they arrested was 21-year-old Keon King. And when you start digging into who this guy is and what he's done, you start to understand how someone like Kada could fall victim to him. King was charged with kidnapping, false imprisonment, stalking, criminal use of a communication facility, and recklessly endangering another person. He's being held on a $2.5 million bail, which tells you exactly how seriously the court is taking this case. But here's what makes this case even more disturbing. This wasn't King's first time. This wasn't some random incident. This guy had a pattern, and the system had already had chances to stop him, but it failed. It spectacularly failed. Earlier in 2024, just months before Kada disappeared, King was arrested for kidnapping and assaulting another woman. Another one. She survived, thank God, but the details of what happened to her are absolutely chilling. According to prosecutors and police sources, King allegedly kidnapped this woman right from in front of her own house. He threw her into a car. He assaulted her. He strangled her. And then eventually he let her go. This woman was lucky enough to live to tell about it. And you know what? There's actually video evidence of King's behavior. His brother actually made a video documenting some of this. And we're going to show you some of that footage because it's important that you see just how brazen this guy was acting. There's surveillance footage of King peering through windows, knocking on windows, behaving erratically and violently, while people inside are screaming at him to leave, screaming for someone to call the police. This footage went viral. People saw this and knew this guy was dangerous. But here's the thing that's going to make your blood boil. Those charges in that earlier case, they were dropped. The charges were dropped because a victim and a key witness failed to show up in court.
We did have a previous case. It was a 2025 case for very similar conduct, strangulation and kidnapping. That case had been withdrawn by our office based on the witness failing to appear at court. I pulled that file, and after an extensive review of it, our office made the decision to refile those.
Failed to show up. Why? According to prosecutors, it was because King was out on bail. He was out on 10% of a $200,000 bail, and that bail allowed him to stay in the community, stay visible, stay able to intimidate people. The system failed that first victim. And then the system failed Kada Scott. There's also a protection from abuse order against King from yet another woman. Another woman felt threatened enough by him to go to court and get legal protection. That order is active until 2027. So we're talking about multiple women, multiple incidents, multiple red flags waving right in front of everyone's faces. And since Kada's case has come to light, more women have come forward, more victims. They're telling their stories of violence, of abuse, of encounters with Keon King that left them traumatized. Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner actually acknowledged that they could have handled that earlier case better. He said they could have done better. You think? A sophisticated approach would have been to try to put it all together with the video evidence. But they didn't do that, and now a young woman is dead. Think about this for a moment. Kada Scott did everything right. She got her education. She got a good job. She was working to help elderly people. She was living responsibly. She was building a future. And it all ended because of systemic failure. Because someone who had already shown a clear pattern of violent behavior toward women was allowed to walk free. Because charges were dropped. Because nobody connected the dots until it was too late. Keon King's preliminary hearing is scheduled for November 3rd. He's not cooperating with investigators. By the way, he's sitting in a jail cell refusing to help, refusing to explain what he did or why he did it. But the evidence is piling up against him. The viral video of his behavior, the testimony from his victims, the forensic evidence, the location where Kada's remains were found. It's all pointing to one very clear conclusion. What strikes me most about this case is how preventable it was.
Now, there were also many questions why charges were withdrawn against Keon King twice prior. He's now being held on $250,000 cash bail on kidnapping, stalking, and other charges. The DA said there were better decisions that should have been made.
How many points of intervention there were. How many times the system could have stepped in and saved a life. That first victim who survived his kidnapping and assault, she could have been protected better. The case against him could have been handled differently. That protection from abuse order could have meant something more. The bail system could have worked differently. Any one of those things could have changed the outcome. Kada Scott was someone's daughter. She was someone's sister. She was a young woman who was just trying to make her way in the world. And now her family is dealing with a grief that will never fully go away. Her mom will never see her daughter graduate to the next chapter of her life. She'll never go to her wedding. She'll never meet her grandchildren through Kada. All of that is gone now because of violence and systemic failure. But here's what I want you to think about. This case raises some really serious psychological and societal questions. How many predators are walking free right now in your own community? How many red flags are being ignored? When someone shows a clear pattern of violence, why do we keep giving them second chances? Why are victims being failed by the very system that's supposed to protect them? How many other young women like Kada are going to become victims before we actually learn to listen to the warnings? And here's the most disturbing question of all. If Keon King had been properly prosecuted the first time, if he'd been held accountable, would Kada Scott still be alive today? Nobody will ever know the answer to that. But that's what haunts me about this case. So I'm asking you right now. If you're watching this and you know something about violence in your community, report it. Don't stay silent. Don't hope someone else will do something. Be the person who speaks up. Be the person who connects the dots. Because the cost of silence is too high. The cost of silence is young women like Kada Scott. If this video affected you, if this story moved you, please like it. Share it with people who need to hear it. Subscribe to Mystorcrimes because we're going to keep telling these stories. We're going to keep asking the hard questions, and we're going to keep demanding accountability. Click that bell icon so you get notified every single time we post, and leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think about this case. Tell me what you think about the systemic failures. Tell me what you think we need to change. Rest in peace, Kada Scott. You deserve better.